Some places are forgotten for a reason. This is Black Hollow, a town that disappeared from the world overnight. No records, no survivors, only whispers of what happened here. Once, Black Hollow was a thriving mining town, home to hundreds. Families lived here, worked here, but one night, they all vanished. No trace of them was ever found. Only the town remains, frozen in time, like a graveyard of forgotten memories. For years, Black Hollow was nothing more than a ghost story, a legend passed down by those brave enough to speak of it. But one young woman was determined to find the truth. Her name was Leah, an urban explorer with a passion for forgotten places. She had heard the stories, seen the warnings, but she couldn't resist the pull of Black Hollow. No one ever could. Leah arrived just as the sun began to set. The town was as the legends had described, deserted, decayed, and forgotten. But there was something more, something the stories hadn't captured. A feeling, a presence. She had come prepared to document everything, but Black Hollow had a way of making you feel watched, even when there was no one there. The deeper Leah ventured into the town, the louder the whispers became. Soft at first, like the wind through the trees. But soon, they were unmistakable. There are places where history lingers, where the past refuses to be forgotten. Inside the church, Leah felt it, the weight of the silence. But it wasn't just the past that haunted Black Hollow. There was something else, something darker. A child's cry broke the silence, a sound so innocent, and yet, in this place, it felt wrong. Leah's heart raced. She had read about the children of Black Hollow. None of them had ever been found. Leah knew she shouldn't go down there. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, to leave while she still could. But the whispers, they were louder now, clearer. They seemed to be calling her name. Below the church, the air was heavy, suffocating. The walls seemed to close in around her, and the whispers became deafening. She wasn't alone. Something was down here with her. In that moment, Leah realized the truth about Black Hollow. The town hadn't just been abandoned. It had been claimed. Leah ran, but there was no escape. Black Hollow doesn't let go of those who enter. No one ever heard from Leah again. Her camera was found weeks later, but the footage, it was corrupted. The last image was of her face, twisted in terror, as the fog closed in around her. Black Hollow remains lost to time, hidden from the world, until the next one comes.
In the quiet town of Ravensbrück, there stands an old, abandoned mansion known as Blackwood Manor. The townsfolk avoid it, whispering tales of a dark past and a murderer who once lived there. One stormy night, a young journalist named Clara decided to investigate the mansion for a story. Armed with a flashlight and her notebook, she made her way to Blackwood Manor. As Clara stepped inside, the air grew cold, and the floorboards creaked under her feet. The mansion was eerily silent, save for the sound of the wind howling through the broken windows. In the grand hall, Clara found an old portrait of a man with piercing eyes and a sinister smile. The plaque beneath it read, Victor Blackwood, 1890 to 1935. According to legend, Victor was a wealthy but cruel man who had murdered his wife and children before taking his own life. As Clara continued her investigation, she stumbled upon a hidden door behind a dusty bookshelf. The door led to a narrow staircase descending into darkness. With a deep breath, she descended the stairs, her flashlight flickering. At the bottom, she found a small, dimly lit room. In the center was a wooden table with a single chair. On the table lay an old, leather-bound journal. Clara opened it and began to read. The journal belonged to Victor Blackwood, and it detailed his descent into madness. He wrote about hearing voices, seeing shadows, and feeling an uncontrollable urge to kill. "Leave now," they hissed. Panic set in, and Clara tried to run, but the door slammed shut, trapping her inside. The room grew colder, and the shadows seemed to come alive, swirling around her. Clara's flashlight died, plunging her into darkness. She felt a cold hand on her shoulder and turned to see Victor Blackwood's ghostly figure, his eyes glowing with malevolence.
"You should not have come here. Now you will join me in eternal torment."
Clara screamed, but no one could hear her. The townsfolk found her the next morning, lying unconscious in the grand hall, clutching the journal. She was never the same after that night, her mind shattered by the horrors she had witnessed. Blackwood Manor remained abandoned, a place of fear and darkness. And the legend of Victor Blackwood lived on, a warning to all who dared to enter the shadow of Blackwood Manor.
In the small, isolated village of Eldermoor, there was a legend that no one dared to speak of after dark. It was said that the shadows in the forest surrounding the village were alive, whispering secrets and luring the unwary into their depths. One crisp autumn evening, a young woman named Eliza, new to the village, decided to explore the forest despite the villagers' warnings. She was a skeptic and found the tales of whispering shadows amusing rather than frightening. As she ventured deeper into the forest, the air grew colder, and an eerie silence enveloped her. The trees seemed to close in, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to grab her. Eliza felt a chill run down her spine but pressed on, determined to prove the legends wrong. As she ventured deeper into the forest, the air grew colder, and an eerie silence enveloped her. The trees seemed to close in, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to grab her. Eliza felt a chill run down her spine but pressed on, determined to prove the legends wrong. Her heart pounded in her chest, but curiosity got the better of her. She followed the voice, her footsteps crunching on the fallen leaves. The whispers led her to a clearing where the moonlight barely penetrated the thick canopy above. Her heart pounded in her chest, but curiosity got the better of her. She followed the voice, her footsteps crunching on the fallen leaves. The whispers led her to a clearing where the moonlight barely penetrated the thick canopy above. Terrified, Eliza tried to turn back, but her feet felt rooted to the ground. The shadows around her began to move, coalescing into dark, humanoid figures with hollow eyes and gaping mouths. They reached out to her, their whispers now a cacophony of voices. Desperately, Eliza tried to scream, but no sound escaped her lips. The shadows closed in, their cold, clammy hands wrapping around her. She felt herself being pulled towards the tree, her vision darkening as the whispers filled her mind. The next morning, the villagers found Eliza's lifeless body at the edge of the forest, her face frozen in a mask of terror. The whispers had claimed another victim, and the legend of the whispering shadows lived on, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the village.